Welcome, gang. This is Terry with ToxicNatos, your one-stop shop for watch accessories. Today, you're listening to AJ and Chris with the Bellingham Podcast.
I couldn't have put it better. I am AJ Barce.
And like Terry mentioned, I am Chris Powell, and this is the Bellingham Podcast.
Episode 82 for the week of June 3, 2018.
What a great intro.
If you don't know who Terry is, we've mentioned his product several times. It's something, actually at the top of the show, I want to mention this. Like Chris and I have said since the get-go of Bellingham Podcast, we don't do advertisements. If we feature something, it's because Chris and I believe it or we use it. And so Terry is the founder and owner of ToxicNatos. We've mentioned his shiznit before. And
Can we say that on the air and still keep our clean designation?
I'm pretty sure shiznit.
Maybe we could use Pig Latin. Let's use Pig Latin in the future. Isn't it Shay?
Isn't it Shay? Strap A? I don't know.
Abstray, yeah.
Abstray.
I'm not fluent in Pig Latin.
I'm not. But so anyway, ToxicNatos, we've mentioned them before. It's funny because like Toxic is one of those brands where if you're in the watch world or you're not in the watch world, you typically stumble upon ToxicNatos because the bang for your buck of what you get for just something as simple as quote unquote a watch strap. Terry puts a lot of forethought in. To pull from their website, quote, "We believe in beautifully designed functional products. ToxicNatos strives to deliver the highest quality strap with exceptional hardware, chamfered-durable holes, and soft yet long-lasting webbing. No need to look for any further. We also provide watch repair and accessories." He's a one-stop shop, like you said.
And also, he is a veteran to which we give a tip of the hat, which you can't see on the air, but we are giving a tip of the hat. And good on him for creating a thriving business of something that is very useful and functional and well done. I don't... I'll talk about using products and various things like that, but here's the deal. I've got a Seiko SKX 007. That's my daily driver. I proudly wear two straps, depending on what clothes I wear, to match with my accessories. I have strap number one is a ToxicNatos Isn't It Shay blackout with 1.4 millimeter thick herringbone weave nylon. This is like the seatbelt style. And the strap number two is a ToxicNatos Rogue blackout in Admiralty gray with 1.4 millimeter Zulu's weave nylon, all on a sesame seed bun. Yeah. It's so comfortable. I'm a fan. I also enjoy the packaging that comes in because it comes in a biohazard pack. I talked about this in a previous episode when I got the black out, and I was delighted. There's this concept that we get with delight. When you open up certain tech devices, there's a little bit of delight you get.
The unboxing. When
I see a biohazard plastic bag with my strap inside of it, plus some, I think it's Atomic Warheads candy. Good on you for having a little bit of sense of humor as you are delivering a product to a customer. This is of a rarity in what we currently have around nowadays. So good on you, Terry. I'm a fan. Thanks once again for starting us off on this show.
Yeah, and Chris, I'm very envious of your Rogue Admiralty. I love that strap. I've got two of his as well. I've got his standard NATO strap that he makes, and I have two of them. One in 20 millimeters for the PNW 001, the very watch that I made, yep. And I have the 22 millimeter for the SKX as well.
Yes,
and both of them I got to support the TGN, the gray NATO, because they had a partnership a while back that you can buy two straps and it supports the show and also supports ToxicNatos. So I've got a special edition buckle that says TGN engraved on it. But the reason why I went to Toxic is so their straps, and you have a little bit bigger wrist, and you've had issues with other NATOs before in the past where it kind of falls short. You don't get enough for that loop to loop into the final buckle.
It's a generous amount of length.
Yes, and so it's a 13-hole spread on his strap, so you have ample. If you have a bigger wrist, or even if you have a smaller wrist like me, there's enough there that you can loop onto that final buckle, so you don't have that flap and tail. The other thing that I love about it is the hardware he uses is skookum.
It's pretty durable, that's for sure.
It is, but it's well polished. The buckle he uses is a thick stainless steel, almost like a Panerai Preview buckle, but it's rounded. It's not sharp like a Panerai buckle. The tang on that thing is thick, and that's the reason why I gravitated towards his product to start with. Is I ride a motorcycle. I'm going 70 miles an hour with a several $1,000 watch on my wrist. You have to ask yourself, That $5.99 strap you got off of the eBay, are you willing to risk having that watch come off your wrist at 70 miles an hour? And that's the reason why I gravitate towards this product, is that I say it's roadworthy. I've gotten this thing wet with bath time with my son to it is on my wrist at 70 miles an hour. And there's, you have to trust in a product, and that's how the level of trust I put in ToxicNato. So
once again, check out ToxicNatos.com to learn more about these fine watch straps.
So this episode is a very packed episode.
We got out of the studio for a while.
Yeah.
And we went for a walk.
Well, we had that awesome station break.
Yes, and well-deserved.
Yep,
Thank you very much.
Yep, we got some great feedback on just a station break, which is cool. Yep. But it took us some time to go on a walkabout, and we walked to, what do you call it, the South Atrium?
The left ventricle of Fairhaven.
Okay, the left ventricle of Bellingham, known as Fairhaven.
Yep.
Now, Fairhaven is our art district of the good old 98225667 area, and we stumbled upon two different businesses. One is Found Leather Goods, where I sat down and had an interview with Nicki Lang, somebody who I've mentioned on the show several times, much like Toxic. But also we stumbled upon a serendipitous interview, Chris.
So as we head out of Nicki's shop in Fairhaven, down the stairs and hook a right, because we're parked nearby, there was a store right nearby called Artwood, and it contains many fine woodworking items. A wonderful environment. Pleasant lady greeted us as we walked in, asked, "Have you been here before?" And I hadn't, so gave me the little introduction and told a little bit about the store, which is wonderful. Instead of the standard, "Can I help you find anything?" But there was some personality there, and I looked at AJ as I'm hearing this description, and AJ looked at me, and we happened to have the microphone with us, and I asked Erica, the manager of Artwood, "Would you mind if we asked you a couple questions? We do this local show, and here's a great conversation about a local artist of fine handcrafted items that we have coming up."
Yeah. So the theme of this show, as opposed to like just the hashtag local or hashtag watchfam, we really sought out story and personality and that local PNW vibe. And we're hooking ToxicNatos, because they're based out of Colorado Springs, into that same vibe. But these are American-based companies, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, artisans. And so that's the theme that we're doing. So leading into this, let's hit the streets of Fairhaven. It's a nice spring day, walking up the streets here. What's great about Fairhaven is all of these old vintage red brick buildings. And I'm just walking down Harris here, and over to my left is this little doorway that goes up to a staircase. Now, I hope you have your stair climbing shoes on, because there's 2 flights of these, but it is well worth it. Once you get to the top, you'll start to smell something leathery in the air. Go to the end of a very short hallway and turn left, and that is where we begin our interview, where I sit down with Nicki Lang, founder and owner of Found Leather Goods. So, Nicki, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Thank you for letting me be in your really skookum...
Ooh, good word choice.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've been waiting 2 years to use that word choice. But very nice. Skookum, what do you call this? Your loft or your studio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where is your studio? Where are we at right now?
We are in Fairhaven at the corner of 10th and Harris, right above Good Earth Pottery.
With probably the best view I think I've seen in Fairhaven.
Yeah.
How did Found get founded?
Found started almost 10 years ago in my basement in Mount Vernon. I just started cutting up leather coats and making little doodads out of them. And about a year after I started doing that, I moved to Portland and opened an Etsy shop and started selling things to strangers. And it was amazing. And it sort of spiraled into buying whole hides of leather and making reproductions of things. And now I have 3 employees who help me out, and they're awesome. And it's a lot of fun. I still love it.
Well, that's good. So 10 years. So getting back to how I found you, I basically just Googled you and found, and I sent you a cold email. I thought I was going to get the cold shoulder, honestly, because I'm just like, probably this big Horkin firm that does all this extravagant industrial stuff. And I'm just like, hey, I used to ride horses. I know my way around a leather punch. Can you help me make a watch strap? You're a 3-person shop. And how much stuff do you produce?
Oh man, I guess it depends from week to week, but I mean, how do you measure how much we produce? We probably sell, 10 pieces a week, and we ship all over the place, and people just kind of wander up. We have kind of irregular hours in the studio, so people come up whenever, or they'll shoot me a message and I'll come down to the studio and open up, and yeah, so it just varies. We get some orders, but we've tried to be more batch oriented just for the sake of efficiency, so we can sell what we have instead of always trying to keep up with orders.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I absolutely adore about you and your shop is literally you act like more of an artisan as opposed to like an industry shop. Like I'm cranking out handbags. No, like you really want to know who you're making your stuff for.
Totally. Yeah, that's part of the beauty of it. I mean, we like to talk to people about what they like and don't like about the bags, and it's all about meeting the people and the making. People ask me what my favorite bag is to make, and I say something new. Whatever is new is always my favorite thing to be making. So
what do you make? You make bags.
We make bags. That's one of our biggest things. And we've started making art portfolio's, which has been sort of a fun direction to take, and we'd like to start making more products for makers. So a couple weeks ago we finished a custom order for bonsai tools. Somebody brought in their bonsai tools and said, "Can you make me a tool roll for these?" And I said, "Yes, we can." and we made it, and it turned out great. And I've done a couple of knife rolls for chef friends, and yeah.
That's cool. Tell me the story behind the skookum.
Ooh, the skookum is a bag that we make that benefits the Skookum House in town, which is a foster care house for kids that are coming into the foster system for the first time. And I'm personally connected to a lot of families that have done foster care and are part of that. And it just feels great to be able to support another great thing in Bellingham. And the bags are all one of a kind. So just sort of tying to the idea that kids are one of a kind, and Skookum just does great work. So it's fun to kind of partner with them and support them. And every bag that is sold, 20% of the profits go to Skookum House.
That's super cool. Or that's super skookum, I should say. So I remember when I first met you, and I was just like, hey, I have my satchel that I brought today that's strapped lovingly to my motorcycle. Mm-hmm. Tell me the story of like the elusive bag that kind of got you into like leathering or leather making or leather crafting, however you want to say it.
So I had a bag that I had gotten when I was in high school on a missions trip in Guatemala, and I bought it from a street market and had it for years and years. And finally, I was in college and I was still carrying this bag, and my dad was like, "You need a new bag. This bag is terrible. I'm embarrassed to be seen with you when you're carrying this bag. I'm going to make you..." He didn't actually say, he said, "I'm going to look for a bag to replace it." And so he made it his mission to look for a similar bag. But he couldn't find one because it was purchased in Guatemala, and so he wasn't about to go to Guatemala and get one.
Darn.
And so without me knowing it, he made a bag for me. He measured the dimensions. He's like, "Leave the bag with me for a weekend and, I'll try and find something." And so he took measurements and went to a thrift store and bought a leather coat and made me this bag, recruited somebody who had an industrial sewing machine, and made this bag that really looked nothing like the original. In fact, your bag that you're talking about looked far more like the original than the one my dad made. But something about the idea of cutting up a leather coat really sparked the idea for the whole business. So, yeah.
And so you've been chopping coats and popping tabs ever since.
It's true, yeah. And I still can't resist cutting up a leather coat. I mean, you can...
Stay away from my leather jacket from my motorcycle, please.
That's pretty nice.
Yes, it is. No, that's really cool. So, like, if it wasn't for that experience, I wouldn't be in the studio right now.
Be in the studio.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny how one thing leads to another.
What's in the future of Found? So I saw last time I popped in, you're doing fashion shows now.
Well, yeah, I mean, not on a regular basis. I like to take part in the Rag Finery fashion shows. I've done three shows, and there was one original event that I won, and I had my face on a bus for a few months, which was really exciting. We upcycled bus driver uniforms, and so the prize was to have your face on a bus. So we were Emily was my model, and we took home one of the judges' prizes. We upcycled a few leather coats and some fabric from the rag finery and made a dress, and that was really the first dress I've ever made, but it sort of gave me the confidence that maybe I could make some more clothing. And my assistant Emily is actually trained as a fashion designer, and so with her help and with the help of another friend, Katie, we're gonna have a collection to show at the Art on Tap runway show.
When is that?
June 15th.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the Alley District is about to be bulldozed for condos, which
Alley
is
District?
very sad. The Alley District, it's an arts district. The Hub bike shop is there. Altility
what?
Studio. Yeah, Plantas Nativas. That whole corner is going down. So it's the
wow.
last big opportunity to go and sort of support the artists that are there and send it off with style.
Oh, that with style. Yeah. That's okay. So from bags to bag origin story to fashion shows, predominantly in your lineup, and I've mentioned this before, you're predominantly very like more feminine centric in your designs, but you do like one-offs for guys. Like you make valets and you know.
Yeah, we I've tried. It's challenging for me to design for guys because I tend to flare things up a little bit. You know, I tend to add things, rivets or zippers or colors.
Dude, guys like rivets.
I guess rivets are a little bit tougher than, like a frill or something. But
very much so.
Yeah. So, we make wallets for guys. We do key fobs. We're doing lots of these little trays.
Yeah, you do key fobs.
Nice. You made that key fob. It was a joint effort.
This was a joint effort. Yeah. But like that's the one thing I wanted to point out is like if a gentleman, a chap, one of the gentry here in Bellingham wanted to have something one of a kind made, like do you do like commission work where some guy could be like, hey, I want to make this leather folio for my moleskin,
Yeah, we've gotten away from one of a kind work just because it sort of stops up our efficiency. With that said, if someone comes in here and asks me, I have a hard time saying no. So, especially
if it's cool,
like
right?
If somebody comes in and wants to build the custom watch band or something, it's hard, hard to turn them away.
So, and I gotta say thank you. Like that was something.
Well, it's fun for me because really I like to connect with people, and to make a useful thing for somebody is really great.
Fast forward through all of this. So I contacted you and I was like, okay, I have no tools. Like I was in the middle of moving. Like I just need I need a punch. I need like leather and I need guidance, and I can't sew worth a darn. So thank you for doing the stitching. Can we do this? And you're like, yeah, come on in. And so I don't know. I think we spent like an hour together or so.
Yeah.
And I made a leather watch strap for my hand-built watch, which is now on my wrist. Sorry, I'm not wearing the leather strap today. It's a little bit warm for that. But, the whole purpose of that is I needed help to make an heirloom, and you helped make that happen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's nice. That's a nice feeling. We are hoping that the studio becomes more and more a space that people can come and learn how to make things. We've had a couple of workshops lately. We had a really great shoemaking workshop. A woman named Rachel from Portland came and taught a sandal making workshop that has really inspired me toward making shoes.
Wow.
So shoes might be on the agenda in the near future. But we also have a macrame workshop coming up.
Macrame? That's not leather.
No, it's not. But people like to make things.
Okay,
so
cool.
I'm just inviting other makers and teachers to come in and just teach different kinds of art. I imagine that leather could go into macrame. We'll see.
I default to your knowledge. That would be cool.
And I teach earring making workshops out of the studio, and can also go to people's houses and have a party and make earrings, and it's a lot of fun. So I hope that it will become more of a teaching, working space for other people to come in and make things.
So those workshops, do you just post them on your website?
I do.
Which is foundleathergoods.com.
Yeah.
And you have an awesome, totally baller Instagram, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
My puppy makes it on there every now and then.
I know.
My children.
Wait, you have a life outside of
I do.
work?
I know. Shh. Yeah.
Okay. I may have to cut that. No.
Oh, I'm about to turn 40 this year. This is a pretty big deal. Yeah.
You do not look your age.
Thank you. I know. Yeah, I look. But we are going to have a big open studio. It's actually so Fairhaven has started doing Fourth Friday art walks. Next month, June 22nd, is my 40th birthday, and you're all invited to a party at our studio. Food and drink and fun and music and, come on up.
What time is that party going to be starting?
5 to 8.
Awesome.
So same hours as the art walk.
So another little tidbit that I recently just found out, because you said music, is your band going to be playing
My
here?
band will hopefully be playing. I haven't asked him yet, so if you're listening, will you please play for my birthday party?
And who's your band? Who do you play with?
We're called the Red Sky Riders.
Awesome.
And we're a group of musicians that got together from just playing at a jam in town at the Green Frog. Rest in peace, the Green Frog. That's now the Firefly. So we just started playing together, and we play bluegrass and old time and Americana type stuff, and hopefully my finger will be banjo ready any day.
Pickin' and grinning.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for having me, and thanks for this wonderful interview. And if anybody is in the area, please come up to Nicki's studio.
Yes, please come up. You can always call ahead to make sure we're here, but we're here mostly in the mornings, and we're trying to be open Saturdays from 12 to 4.
And before we get to our next interview, I should probably say that you might be listening to the Bellingham Podcast on Bellingham's own KMRE 102.3 FM, low power community radio here in the heart of the city by the Salish Sea. So after Found, we went down and we hooked into Artwood. Now, this was funny because you hadn't been in Artwood before.
I had not been there before, and yet here's the manager who greeted us, and she had actually a very unique take on her role as Artwood. Let's take a listen.
Artwood Gallery is a woodworkers co-op, which means it is owned by local woodworkers. Everything that comes in goes through a jury process. The work has to be handmade by the artists, and we have 3 members that do the jury to make sure it's the quality that we want to have in the gallery. It's not something you would find in every store around Fairhaven or anywhere else. They're all unique pieces that are handmade.
Erica, as far as Artwood, you mentioned that you are known as the glue as a manager here. Where did that come from, or how do you refer to yourself as the glue?
Because I've been doing it for 31 years, and people always ask me, what is it that I make? I don't make anything, but I do all the bookwork, all the paperwork, move the furniture, take care of everything other than making the furniture. So I called myself the glue.
Excellent. You bind the professionals with the excellent. Sounds good. Now, Artwood is here in Fairhaven, in the heart of Fairhaven, but it had an earlier location, as you were mentioning.
We were on Grand Avenue in Bellingham, a block from the museum. There was a restaurant called Primo's, and there was a small side that they needed something there. One of the woodworkers knew the fellow that owned the building and said, why don't you and some of your buddies put some furniture or something in here, and then I have a girl that can run it during the day, and you guys can come in the evening and on the weekends when the customers are here for the restaurant. So about 25 of them got together from a club, most of them a woodworkers club, and they started the gallery called Artwood. It was a very small area. After about 4 months, the restaurant closed, and the gallery could not afford to purchase the building or to run a bigger size, and they had just sold an expensive desk, so they decided they needed to find another location. One of the members, Michael Strong, lived here in in Fairhaven, and he knew that the food co-op had been in this building. This building is from 1890. The food co-op was here, moved out, and it had been empty for 6 years. During that time, there was a leak. The floor was getting destroyed. There was feral cats in here. The electricity wasn't working. Wow. So they needed somebody that could really do the work. So November of 87, we met with the people from the building. This is the People's Land Trust. Okay. And we met with them and made an arrangement where we would do the work, and then they would pay us back taking money off of our rent until it was paid back to us, which worked out fine. So we started by undoing all the floor, taking it up, digging out 18 inches of dirt because the city said at this point, this building is a historic building. You have to have a crawl space underneath. So we dug out 18 inches of dirt in the whole place and then totally redid it. And our goal was to open Ski to Sea weekend because we didn't have money to advertise. So we had brown paper on the windows saying, opening Sea to Ski. And we opened Ski to Sea day. We had one dining room set. We had like a large pedestal with a little bowl on, a large pedestal with a box. We had a few things on the wall, but not very many. When you look at the pictures, you will see that. And that's how we've been here. And we've been here for 30 years now, this last Sunday.
That's a wonderful story. So Ski to Sea just occurred this past weekend.
That's right.
As we're speaking. How was this year in comparison when it all ends in Fairhaven?
Oh, it's fantastic, as always. There's always many, many people who come in who have never been here before. People who have been here before who, just come in because they want to see what we have that's new. Because we started out with 25 members. We are down to 16 members, but of those 16, only 8 are active at this point. But we have about 65 consignment artists, and so things come in on a regular basis. The gallery is always changing. If we sell a major piece, then we have somebody bring in another major piece, like a dining room set or something large.
What are some unique items that one may not find normally on these big sites like Amazon? There's a lot of wonderful handmade goods here, but there's some interesting pieces of note.
The main thing is that everything is handmade and it is local, by local art.
So as the interview continued, as we're learning more about this wonderful store in Fairhaven, we had some technical difficulties as technology happens to occur for many involved. As we were chatting about both the anniversary of the store opening and how it applies to the Ski to Sea event that always occurs. One happened recently. And so what's up next for you in 2018 as we're progressing towards the summer or fall? Any projects or any other kind of...
Well, this month we featured our members because it's 30 years. Mm-hmm. And next month will be Karen Healy, who is one of our original members. And she does wonderful furniture, boxes, jewelry. She works with wood. She works with metal. She does stonework. She does jewelry and glass work, everything. Whatever the fourth Friday of June is, we will have... my husband here, who's one of the members, who will be a carver, doing carving, and Michael Flaherty, who does the ukuleles, will be here, and Karen Healy will be here. She's our featured artist, and she also does shaker boxes, which are like from the early, 1700s or something like that.
Very good. So much story. Yes. So much uniqueness and originality for here. So, Erica, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you for asking.
Wow, Chris. So this episode, we had 3 different makers on our show. We had Terry of ToxicNatos, we had Nicki from Found Leather Goods, and we had Erica from Artwood. This was a dense episode.
I'm going to call this a trifecta of creativity.
The trifecta, the Triforce.
That
the Triforce of creativity.
That works too. Yes. No, great work, great stories, and a great mission for what they're doing.
So as we wrap up, Chris, speaking of makers, what do you got in the hopper?
I am currently working on a project that involves my newsletter, Quiet Conversations. Got a link to it in the show notes if you're interested. Which is normally delivered to one's inbox, but I'm trying to go a little bit more of a tactile, physical format. Just kind of seeing what's out there, and it might be a worthy summer project. So we may be talking about that in future episodes. But otherwise, continuing to do this wonderful podcast, and I have a little bit of a microcast where I talk technology elsewhere on a microblog. But otherwise, AJ, what do you got going on?
I'm still working on, I got a few things in the hopper, actually. And my Patreon patrons have kind of been looped in on the projects. You can support me as a Patreon artist on Patreon, patreon.com/AJ Barce, or you can find a link on my website, ajbarce.com. But I too am looking at the physical. So I've been doing physical prints. I've been doing 35 millimeter actual film and digital prints. But also I've got something else kind of cooking, and some of my Skookum Patreon patrons will probably find out about this in the next coming weeks. But the blog might be going a little bit more physical, and that's all I'm going to say. There's going to be a new page to turn on. Every Moment Has a Story.
I think I hear Olivia Newton-John in the background. She's singing Let's Get Physical.
Whoa, Chris, I don't know about that.
Let's wrap this thing up.
That wraps up for this edition of the Bellingham Podcast. Thank you again so much for listening to us, rating us, reviewing us on the Google Play, the SoundCloud, iTunes, or anywhere else you like to listen to your podcast. If you're in the Bellingham area, you might be catching us over the air, analog style, on KMRE 102.3 FM.
Low power.
Community radio here in the heart of the city by the Salish Sea. On that note, I'm AJ Barsay.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thanks once again for joining us on the Bellingham Podcast.
Get physical, seriously?
You know what? I talked about it. You talk about it. Why not? It'll happen. Well, trust me. Episode 87, it'll happen.